Gearing up for hopefully Game 3 today in Detroit, weather permitting. And as our favorite ESPN baseball insider bounces around, we get Jeff Passan a little earlier than usual today. What have you seen so far? What do you make of where we're at so far here in the postseason?
Oh, man. I mean, where do you want me to start? I guess I can go in the National League. The Brewers and the Dodgers being on a crash course for a series that I think is, if it happens, going to be one of the more important National League Championship series we've seen in a really long time. And here's why. Because I think this is going to be one of those series that among fans is narratively framed as a series that is to be just a little bit dramatic here for the soul of baseball. Mm-hmm. And I say that because it's impossible to get it lined up more perfectly with what's going on in the baseball labor world. For those who don't know, the collective bargaining agreement expires December 1st, 2026. Owners want a salary cap. Players do not. If the Milwaukee Brewers make the World Series, the argument that championships or the World Series is only for teams that go and spend goo gobs of money kind of falls on its face a little bit. But if the Dodgers make the World Series again and win the World Series again with a $500 million payroll, far bigger than any other team in Major League Baseball right now, it's just going to be really hard for the players to argue publicly against this idea that there isn't something wrong with the financial state of baseball at this point. So beyond all those implications, I just think it would be a rad series between teams that were built differently, but can play at that very high level. In the American League, on the other hand, we'll see how the Yankees respond today, but it looks like the best series just in terms of competitiveness is between the Seattle Mariners and Detroit Tigers. And the first two games have been whoppers. Like, just I know you guys are having heart attacks with every single pitch that's thrown, but as somebody with no vested interest beyond his radio hits on this station every week in either of these teams, watching it from afar, it's been intense, good baseball, and I've really enjoyed it.
I would say you're incorrect, Your Honor. I would say you do have a vested interest. I'd say some 18 months ago, in April of 2024, you had a Julio Rodriguez piece ready to go, and that thing has sat on the shelf for a year and a half. And after his performance this weekend, if he can continue to do so through this postseason, may you dust that article finally off.
Now that you mention it, there's a real possibility of it, actually.
He looked really good.
But I feel like I don't. He looks awesome. I need to be on a series with him for that. I can't do that from afar, and I don't know at this point whether I'm going to be on the American League or National League. It depends what teams are still in it, and the geographic locations of my coworkers, and that's sort of how these things are determined. Actually,
right, so
like we've got somebody who lives in Chicago who's probably going to want to be on a Milwaukee series. We've got someone who lives in LA, so I might wind up on the ALCS.
What all that aside, what do you make of what Julio's done through the first, and for all of the conversations we've had, Jeff, over the last 3 years of Julio this and Julio that? What have you made of just the Julio Rodriguez experience through the first two games of this series?
Doesn't he look so comfortable? Mm-hmm. Like that to me has been the biggest takeaway. How at ease and at home he looks in these big moments. And that's what you want from your star, right? You never know what he's going to respond like when not just playoff at-bats come around, but meaningful playoff at-bats. And I think both Julio Rodriguez and Cal Raleigh, at least over these two games, have shown that they are ready to meet the moment. And the way that they pulled off Game 2 and, the circumstances after it gets tied of bouncing right back and answering right back with your two best players and back-to-back doubles. I just thought it was really, really impressive and says a lot about, as a fan, I think, how you can feel watching these things. The inherent nervousness that comes from these games, it's palpable. But when Julio steps up, when Cal steps up, you feel a little bit of comfort. It's like a warm blanket surrounding you and saying, it will be okay, friend. You don't have to hyperventilate.
Jeffrey, did you see the video of the Mariner fan crying?
I did, yes.
So you do these hits, I'm sure, in many parts of the country, maybe not all 30 major league markets every single week. We're kind of spoiled in that way to get you all throughout the season. But you do them in enough markets. You've been around enough fan bases.
I don't actually, Brock. I don't go on the radio very often. Too much of me is not a good thing.
I would agree with that.
I mean, every once in a while, like Salk, your mouth will run in ways that
you'd like back.
Yeah, maybe you said something about the Mariners fans some years ago, but I think you've totally forgiven. I think
you're bringing that up now of all times.
Well, right now we're at the precipice. You said earlier about heart attacks. We got fans just crying in the stands. We got people, 47,000 of them. I mean. Like if you were to characterize this Mariners fan base from what your own life experience, what your eyes have seen, how would you describe them?
I'm trying to
carefully so that he doesn't get in trouble again.
Yeah, seriously,
this is a gotcha question. Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah,
I mean, we've not been to the World Series, and I say we because I am a fan at heart with this as much as anything else that I talk about. Like. Yeah, the Seahawks, I played for them, so, there's a little difference there. I'm still a fan of them, but the Mariners, I'm a fan. I'm a 12-year-old fan. I'm at school today with schools in the Pacific Northwest that I think they still have televisions. They'll roll into the room, the good teachers will, to put that game on when it comes at 1 o'clock today, right? That was my life experience. I feel like I've got a certain sense, but I'm curious from your perspective. It's a much bigger perspective of how you see these Mariners fans.
I think the word that I would go with is deserving. And that comes less from my firsthand experience with Seattle fans and more from my firsthand experience growing up in Cleveland. And I'm certain that there are people in Seattle who balk at the idea of being compared to Cleveland in any way whatsoever, and I entirely understand that. But when it comes to sports, guys, there is no fan base that's had it worse than Cleveland. There just isn't. And I think what I marvel at with Cleveland sports fans is their willingness to have their hearts broken every single time. And the vulnerability that it takes to be a sports fan of a tortured city. And this Mariners organization, it's been around for a really long time, and it has not achieved the ultimate goal in that time. And because of that, I think it's left fans feeling like, oh my God, maybe this can actually be something. So while I have never been driven to tears mid-game, I'm not going to sit here and actually, no, that's a lie. I did judge him a little bit, but it's okay. Like I might judge you a little,
sure,
But I get it.
Yeah, I think that's
get
fair.
it.
That's a fair in between. Yeah, a little judgment, just not too much
It might be
judgment.
it might have been a little more than a little, but I get it.
So, Jeff, you watch these games. I've watched a ton of postseason baseball. I think almost every game so far this year. And what strikes me, if you have to put all of the games together, the first 4 innings roughly are all about the starting pitcher against that day's offense. The last 3 or 4 innings are an almost scripted parade of ridiculous relievers throwing 98 plus with ridiculous secondary pitches, and a couple of maybe pinch hitting moves, but for the most part, just good luck trying to hit these guys, and we'll see what happens. And then right in the middle of these 2 different games is the 5th inning. Maybe occasionally it's the 4th or the 6th, but for the most part, it's the 5th inning where the pitcher is dealing with the lineup coming around a third time, and the manager of the pitching team has to make some decisions on what they want to do, and the manager of the hitting team has to decide whether or not they're willing to take out some of their best hitters because of matchup situations. What have you made of the decision-making process throughout baseball in that middle inning so far in the postseason?
I think all of it is just influenced by the overwhelming level of stuff that we're seeing in the playoffs. And I think that, to me, is the biggest takeaway that I have from it. And that is best personified by the fact that during the regular season, the average fastball was an all-time high in Major League Baseball at 94.4 miles per hour. Do you know what the average fastball has been in the postseason this year?
It feels like it's been about 96.
That's a Mike Socknose ball, 96.1. We're seeing 104 from Jacob Mizorowski again and again and again, and we're seeing 104 from Mason Miller. And it's like you see 100 now, and you're just like, yep. It used to be you see 100 and it was, oh, my God. Now it's like Carlos Vargas throwing 100 casually.
Yeah,
chain break.
It feels like Fox is going to have to take away that little fire emoji thing they have, the fire graphic, when it hits 100, because it's got to now be 104 in order to qualify for the little fire thing.
Yeah, there's a little too much fire happening right now, and it's scary for hitters, and it's frankly it's daunting when it comes to scoring runs, which is why I think getting an early lead is such an imperative thing in these games. Like you don't want to be the team playing from behind when there's a parade of relievers with just absurd arms coming in. And honestly, the Tigers are maybe the least of those concerns. When you look at their bullpen, when it comes to guys who are throwing exceptionally hard, Will Vest is upper 90s. Kyle Finnegan can touch 100 with his fastball. But beyond that, the power reliever element of the Tigers is one of the things that, frankly, they're missing, and a real vulnerability, I think, in this series. But the Mariners, they've got their power arms, and they just need to play clean baseball. I mean, we saw that, Josh Naylor kicks a ball after a leadoff walk, and all of a sudden you put yourself in that vulnerable position, and bad things can happen. And you just need to. It's why every out among the 27 in the postseason is so important, guys. You just cannot give opportunities to teams that are here because they cashed in on those opportunities during the regular season. That's the thing. These teams that are left right now, they're not teams that are particularly inclined to fold. So it's not going to get any easier if the Mariners survive this round.
Biggest key for Walter today in this matchup?
I think the location of his splitter, because the Tigers are going to march out a very left-handed lineup. And the one way to neutralize left-handers is by throwing the pitch that dive bombs away from them. We've seen the splitter more this postseason, guys, already than we have in any postseason in the last 25 years. It has become the pitch du jour, whether it's Cam Schlittler or Trey Savage. Kevin Gausman dominated the Yankees with it. Roki Sasaki's splitter has been obscene. And Logan Gilbert learning that a couple of years ago, I think, is the personification of who he is as a pitcher, somebody who will toy and tinker and use his natural feel for the baseball to figure out how to get outs. And for games like this, fastball command inside and splitter being able to locate it, starting in the zone and moving outside of it, I think will be everything for Logan Gilbert.
I know there's good reasons for it, but would you blame anyone in Seattle for being a little irritated that the Mariners have been signed up here for 3 straight day games? 1 o'clock start West Coast time today, noon tomorrow, and then potentially 1:40 on Friday. I get that they've got a lot of different windows and you can't get the primetime game every night, and Seattle is not New York or some of the other big markets, but 3 straight day games for the postseason feels a bit much.
It's a little weird. I'd say my only counter to that is go win a championship and people start caring about you more and give you primetime slots. Like that's just sort of like the way sports is. And as much as,
but the only problem with it, I don't, you're right. And I know it. And we all know why it happens this way. But the only challenge with that is that's the organization. The people who were hurt by the 1 o'clock, 1:40 starts are the fans who have absolutely nothing to do with whether or not their team has won a championship or not. They just want to watch their team in the postseason. Like, who's more excited right now? Milwaukee fans certainly are. It's kind of new to them over the last few years, but I understand it.
Jays fans absolutely are right there.
Good.
And I would argue Dodgers fans are pretty thrilled right now.
This is new territory, and it does feel like the people made to suffer because the team hasn't been in the postseason a lot and built a national fan base are the local fans who literally can't watch because they're at work.
Mike, you sound a little bit spoiled.
Do I? I don't have to work then. It's fine for me. I feel bad for the fans.
We got a lot of techies. They got the TVs in their cubicles. We're fine.
Hey, it benefits us.
No,
people can just listen on the radio. It's good for us.
Yeah. No, you don't sound spoiled. That was just a mediocre joke. I look at a situation like this through the lens of somebody who has no vested stake, and when that's the case, I just look at the facts, and the facts are that if the New York Yankees can play in prime time, they're going to. Mm-hmm. Like that's just reality, and it stinks, and it's not ideal. And for all of the fans who have to lie to their bosses today, I urge you concoct a good plan. Mm-hmm. Don't come with a mediocre lie, and maybe in fact even tell them the truth. And the truth might be that as much as I appreciate this job, Seattle Mariners are more important. And any boss who doesn't take that and doesn't accept that is not someone that you want to work for anyway.
People don't leave jobs, they leave managers, right? That's what we always hear. So if your boss doesn't let you leave today, it's probably time to leave. I like that philosophy.
Speaking of facts, nothing personal, just speaking of facts. What's your life experience in baseball been with those players that may or may not be waiting on a baby, that may or may not be with the team?
So this is a second labor question for Jeff Passan today.
I'm the perfect person to ask this question to, because I wrote a really long story about this during the postseason. Good Lord, it's been it's been 6 years now. Back in 2019, Daniel Hudson, who I wrote a book about coming back from his back-to-back Tommy John surgeries. I've gotten to know the Hudson family very well. I'm extraordinarily fond of them. And Sarah Hudson was due with their third daughter in the middle of October. And Daniel Hudson missed a postseason game. He was closing for the Nationals, but he was not going to miss the birth of his third daughter. And I, instead of covering a game, went with him back to Arizona and was at the hospital and wrote a whole story about the conflict there. But for him and for Josh Naylor, as important as baseball is, as wonderful as it is, your family always matters more. And any fan who has any intentions of trying to tell Josh Naylor what he and his family should do, just remember this little bit of advice I have right now. It's going to be very simple. Shut up. The kid is exponentially more important than any baseball game ever will be. And if the Mariners can't win without Josh Naylor, they probably weren't going to win with him.
Well, and probably just to add to that, you don't know what the health situations are, what else they're dealing with.
Absolutely.
You couldn't be more right about all of that. So, Jeff, seriously, thank you. The only thing I heard today was Salk Knows Ball. So Thank you for that and for everything else. And we'll talk to you next week.
Enjoy the games this week. I hope we have good stuff to talk about next week.
Seriously, yeah.